Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series here in Valencia. You think that dessert looks sweet? Don't worry, we've got something even sweeter. It's Terran versus Zerg. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by In Control and Rotterdam. These two gentlemen, very heated debate over who they believe is going to win. I believe In Control is crunching some numbers right now. So Rotterdam, why don't you tell us how hyped you are for this match when we get the numbers?
Well,
crunched?
Nate, the first thing I want to say, you say it's Terran versus Zerg. And I got to reply with, is it though? Is it though? Because.
It is though.
It is though.
It is though.
Is it set in stone? Has he decided?
I believe it was literally carved into a rock
right.
by the computer.
In that case, I actually believe that uThermal can do it here. Of course, I am a little bit biased. I'm Dutch. I'm a big fan of uThermal. I'm also a big fan of Snute. Historically, it's incredibly close between these two. So you can crunch the numbers all you want, Jeff. But it won't give you much. It gives you a 50-50 result.
What happened with the numbers, Jeff?
I'll tell you what, the numbers came up, and it's pretty incredible. It's a close match between the two. But I want to break away from the numbers for a second, which I know is sacrilegious on some level. But I want to talk about the emotional battle that's going on here. For those of you that joined us and watched Home Story Cup not even just a week ago, these guys clashed. And uThermal did play Protoss, which was the kind of controversial thing, but he beat Snute in such a way. It's hard to remain friends after that. Like, it was dirty, it was gross, and it was embarrassing. I'm going to use the word for Snute, and Snute felt that embarrassment. To then get each other in the round of 16, they're friends, they're teammates. There's no, I'm sure if you look at Snute, there's no extra angst, but deep down inside that cold black Zerg heart, I guarantee you there is a little extra something here, and Snute's going to give him everything he's got. I know. Yeah, of course you normally would, but there's going to be a little extra something.
It's turned into a grudge match.
I think so. I really do. Yes.
You agree, Kevin?
No, absolutely. And it's funny as well, though, because uThermal is a really good Terran versus Zerg player. I mean, I know you guys joked about it in the past, but when it comes to Europeans having an okay record against Zero, uThermal is pretty much the only one who can claim that in the last 6 to 9 months. He is incredibly good in this matchup, yet he hates playing against Snute. The style that Snute brings to the table, we all know it. It's queens, queens, and more queens, and then eventually you get some real units as well. And that kind of stuff, it's very frustrating to see your real units lose a fight against the macro support unit that Snute is so freaking comfortable with. And the real question here is for uThermal. uThermal is not just playing against Snute. This is a cliche, and I hate to use these kind of cliches, but he's also kind of battling himself and his mindset in dealing with the style that he just hates going up against.
Yeah, I think a lot of Terrans definitely expressed some frustration in playing against the Queen styles, but Snute does like those longer games as well. Very comfortable if it goes the distance, as he's one of the most consistent, high-earning non-Korean StarCraft players of all time.
A little bit of an interesting battle between these two because, you know, Kevin wants to talk about the emotional stability, if you will, of uThermal. Same is true for Snute. I feel like this is kind of an interesting best of 5 because it's going to be that first game or two I feel like will be really, really important. Now, keep in mind, actually, Snute did actually, after his loss to uThermal at Home Story Cup, then go on and take on Innovation.
And he won.
And beat him in a really great series. So we're looking at a fantastic ZVT against a uThermal that's really playing in form, by the way. We saw some clips there of him just destroying Lambo and showing a great series there as well. I'm about as hyped up as you can get for this.
And it even carries over to ladder a little bit. Like 7K is always that magical barrier that these pro gamers talk about. uThermal didn't just get 7K recently, he got 7-1. I mean, that's
7-1.
That's really freaking good. Snute, on the other hand, he's quite a bit below that. But Snute also said he's like, I mostly feel that's because of my ZVZ. There's so many good Zergs on the European ladder. He said, I actually feel my ZVT, my ZVP is still really up there in the foreign scene.
All right, well, we're ready to introduce the players onto the stage. We've got Smix there to bring out our Team Liquid players going at it.
Bring him out.
Bring them out indeed. It's going to be a liquid team kill, as you guys have mentioned. It's Team Shibu versus Team Queens. We'll see who comes out on top. Let's bring them out on stage. It is uThermal and Snute.
That handshake as the players get ready. Perhaps a bit of angst. Maybe would have had the joy buzzer in that hand then for the Protoss cheese he brought him last time.
I'm still waiting, by the way. Our very own peer, who we're missing here, Fear Dragon, has issued a challenge to these pro gamers and said, you guys entertain me with a winning ceremony and I will give somebody $1,500. These boring pro gamers have just been winning StarCraft games. They're not even I need a somersault or something. If Snute wins, imagine if he tore away those track pants
And
underneath.
started like breakdancing.
40-inch quads. He's been working out only his lower body the entire time. And he does a river dance. I would give him the $1,500 myself.
Okay.
That's not going to happen, probably.
That's not. No, I don't think that. I don't think that's a thing.
That would be a winning ceremony, wouldn't it?
That would be terrifying.
Secretly working out your quads only and reveal them on stage.
I think what's quite funny as well is that in the lead up to this event, of course, we always do Challenger, and these two went up against each other in Challenger as well. And it was one of those series where at one point Snute takes a 2-1 lead, and it was a ridiculous amount of queens. And uThermal even at one point had it, you know what, I'm done with this series.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you really do kind of have to finish it. Then he did bounce back, and he played an amazing game 4, and he won. And then game 5 was Darkness Sanctuary, and it was cross map. I have the feeling that uThermal probably says, you know what, never again. He probably vetoed Darkness Sanctuary going into this series. I think this is going to be a really freaking cool one. For uThermal, this is finally one of those moments, though, where it's like, we talk about him as one of the best foreign Terrans. Now it's time for that real deep run, right?
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking about games where anyone plays versus Zerg cross-spawn on that map and is actually able to win. Even Cyril was like, cross-spawn against Scarlet. Was like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Tough one. Is this the other side of the bracket? Is this the non-Serral side
No,
of the
this
bracket?
is still the top side.
Oh, it's
We're
the
still
bottom
at the top
side
half.
of the top.
Yes.
What it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's the last. This is the last. We're at the end of the middle.
This is
Yeah.
the bottom of the
top
bottom
half.
of the top side of the bracket.
Understand. Yeah, I tracked that beautifully the whole time.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a nice TvZ. We've had a couple of whoppings, but again, it's nice because even when Raynor wins that bad, that in of itself is a bit of a story.
Yep.
Here, Marine, we're like, all right, okay, that's a bit of a cooler. Now I want some blood. I want this to go to game 5. I want there to be a pause, a tactical pause for one of the guys to like wipe blood off their face and stuff and stare daggers across the stage.
I mean,
We can get that.
If you want to talk some numbers real quick before
I
we
do
go
want
into
to
the
talk
series, historically, map-wise, between these two, 58-57 in favor of Snute. I mean, or in favor of uThermal, actually, but that's ridiculous.
And we're about to see that potentially move in favor of one of these players. We have the match ready. It's time for Snute versus uThermal.
We're about to see.
G'day guys, we have got a real rivalry between friends and rivals in uThermal, the Terran player from Holland, and the Norwegian Zerg Snute. One of the richest pro gamers in StarCraft 2 with all that success. But in the bottom right here, this guy's been a real thorn in his side. Teammate and Terran player in the bottom right, it is uThermal. The Shibu Terran. And in the top left, with that early pull, this is Team Liquid Snute.
Certainly an amazing matchup between these two, as you were saying, Maynard. You know, friends and teammates, of course, but truly they are rivals.
And it's a rivalry that's quite old as well. Like over 4 years, these guys have been playing each other. And for considering, like Roddy just brought it up, for their score in maps against each other to be so close over 4 years, that's incredible. This is one of the most incredible rivalries in the game.
Yes, it really is. And amazing to see them meet up here. People call it a Team Liquid team kill. A lot of people are saying, oh, this is kind of sad that they're facing. Look at the bright side, too. One of them moving on to that round of 8. And, you know, uThermal has definitely had a good tournament so far, but can you have, Maynard, can you have a non-Korean tournament round of 8 without Snute in it? If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, did it really make a sound?
If it was one of those tournaments that never got seen by a single viewer, maybe. But then again, did it ever really happen?
Well, that's the real question, because Snute is the most stable pro gamer in the world. I think only Innovation has a chance to challenge him for that even.
And even then, Snute did defeat Innovation, as they brought up there at Curry Cup. So this kid is quite good at this matchup, and uThermal has been known as that guy that's so good with his micro, his control, his multitask, similar to Special in that case, although uThermal really favors going for that bio style, similar to Hero Marine. Oh, we got a little bit of this pull first being used to good effect here from Snute, and that wall is down deliberately here from uThermal. This is not a mistake. He wants the Lings into his main, so they're not attacking his natural, and so he doesn't have to pull SCVs down all that far. He can actually keep them in the main and just rely on the Marine to do the damage against the Lings.
Well, I gotta say, that was some amazing micro from uThermal. He was pulling back so many damaged SCVs. Did he even lose one there?
I don't think so.
He did not lose one SCV, and he was pulling them back when they had 1 to 2 hits left on them. So,
and there you go, a drone kill and 6 slings are gone down. That Reaper even getting a kill across the map. So I just finished saying this guy has been known for his micro. His splits have been pretty incredible. He was a very, very good Terran hard to swarm, especially when I had that bio mine rally 3cc across the map style. This Reaper's going to go down, but getting a drone early, getting a lot of scouting information, certainly worth it.
The pool first, we saw the same thing, Maynard. You and I just casted Raynor versus Special. Same opening builds on both sides on specifically this map. And, Special took a bit of damage from it. It was a little bit harder for him to hold on. It got a couple SCVs. Here, uThermal holds on, kills a drone, gets a scout. Snute can't be happy about that.
Yeah. Early game, certainly slightly in uThermal's favor here as he's done a little bit more extra damage here against his teammate. He's coming down to make sure that he's not doing anything crazy, trying to keep tabs on those creep tumors. Obviously Snute wants to spread that out. The Hellions are just trying to make it a little bit more difficult for Snute, but this is the King of Queens here. He is continuing to keep those out, and he's producing 2 at a time from his 2 hatcheries. Yeah,
really focusing quite heavily on those queens as he's so wont to do. With the Raven coming up, though, along with quite a few Hellions, definitely uThermal can pace around a bit and try to push back some of this creep, possibly even do a bit of auto turret harassment. We'll see about that. But Snute is generally pretty darn safe in the early game due to his style.
Yeah. A couple lings coming in here, but this time the wall-up's going to go up and the Hellions will barbecue these lings down. So they get the information that there is a 1-1-1 opening. They don't know what's coming out of the starport just yet. I'm not sure if they actually saw the Raven or not. I don't think they did. So uThermal is going to look to do some auto turret harassment in the main base while these Hellions try and look for the 3rd drone line.
Yeah, they're going to keep popping around, but well-placed Overlords and Queens look like they should be able to block anything that's occurring. Looks like we might have a little bit of a lag there for a moment, but...
Indy. If it's not Emil, it's another Polish commentator.
All right, well, the Hellions trying to run in. Does not look like a good place for them to choose their battle, but the auto turret going down in the main base grabs a single drone and going to cause some lost mining time while scratching that hatchery.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't getting kills, but it's denying mining time, which is still quite nice. And these Hellions were looking for kills there, but Mr. Queens, he's got way too many.
Yeah, he definitely has quite a few of those so far. You see the creep spread already being pushed quite nicely. And it looks like actually Roach attack on the way here. Look at this, the Hellions getting by the Queens finally here. Drones being pulled, but that means a lot of drones are about to die.
That's exactly what that means, Artosis. They're trying to get rid of these Hellions, but 11 are going to go down here. Snute caught with his Queens up in position, probably spreading creep after that attempt on the 3rd. And uThermal, with the balls of steel, goes straight up the guts into the natural Zerg and finds sick damage. Oh, another auto turret in the main base as well for another drone or 2.
Oh my gosh, look at that. 19 drones killed on this harassment run. Sure, he loses some Hellions, but that's all right. He's already switched his tech up, going into Marines, going into siege tanks, whereas Snute going towards Roach tech, but at a big deficit here as far as drones go.
Yeah, you really won't want to have to be spending more minerals on those drones when you want to be at this point where you kind of want to get some units out, maybe even try and hit the Terran on the other side of the map. Because at the moment, uThermal, with his early game defense, hasn't actually seen too many Zerg units since then as he's taken his 3rd.
No.
He's got a pretty nice work account. In fact, it's the same as the Zerg, which is a position the Zerg almost never wants to be in.
Yeah, it's a very tough spot. And, Snute can be a bit of an emotional player. There's no doubt about that. So losing those early drones, nothing gets a Zerg's goat like that. So we'll see if he can kind of hold himself together here. He is getting the Roach Horn. He still has a solid amount of Queens, and the creep spread is amazing. But now uThermal is starting some dedicated harassment with those medevacs moving out.
And there's the innovation supply depot there from uThermal rallying these units down to it. And this Raven is still alive as well, so it could potentially join up with this dropship of Marines and siege tanks, picking one of the strongest locations in Dreamcatcher to siege up. And with this Raven, no scans necessary. You can get some creep in this drone. That hatchery is not happening.
Not bad at all. Look at this. Getting a lot of the creep. Getting an Overlord also?
That's so good. Like, even though you guys watching from home are like, but there's nothing getting killed, Maynard. I mean, apart from the Overlord, you're right, but the creep tumor is getting denied. That many dying is really frustrating for Snute. He has a lot of Queens, yes, but it's something that now he has to do. Look at how low the energy is on these Queens here. He has to get on down there, which means the Queens are potentially out of position for drops again. So This is very annoying.
Also, look at the bases, right? Where is Snute supposed to take his fourth? Well, right where all the creep was just killed. So if he doesn't have the creep there, you set up your siege tanks, you get in a good position, it becomes very difficult. But to be fair, Snute has 1-1 on his roaches. He starts 2-2 on his roaches. He's playing a different brand of Zerg versus Terran here on Dreamcatcher.
He's going to go for a very old school style here. Oh, uThermal just found that hatchery to the top right. It looks like that hatchery's not going to happen. Snoot's going to try and defend it. He's sending some units over to the right-hand side. He's got those roaches, which are upgraded with 1-1, 2-2 on the way. But Snute, in true European Zerg fashion, going for the faster hive here. Infestation pit halfway done.
Well, certainly that can be very good with his style. If you're going for this many roaches and teching up that quickly, I wonder if he's going to go into an Ultralisk Cavern to go with this, a very old style. We'll see. But right now, he can't get a fourth base, and that is a huge issue.
Yeah, being on 3 bases for this long is certainly devastating as a Zerg. He's got so many drones, but nowhere to spread them out. It looks like an Armor Shredder going to hit a bunch of these roaches, and with that, it looks like uThermal might be able to stand and fight, but no, the roaches are actually a little bit too strong still. He has to pull back. He loses a few Marines in the retreat, but coming back to the siege tanks, these roaches still have their armor shredded, so going to be very, very careful here to Snute. Tries to split, but he is no uThermal.
Even does it again, nails them with that anti-armor missile. Moving forward right now, trying to retake this fourth base. Not a lot of units up here for uThermal. He might be playing with fire right now, but trying to really utilize that spell that he just cast on the roaches.
uThermal's going to drop towards the third here by the looks of things. There is some units and a Spore Crawler from Snute. Not that many units, though. If he unloads just on the outside of this creep, he could potentially hit Snute in 2 places at once, but is certainly dedicating a lot more resources to the attack here on the 4th attempt of Snute. Really strangleholding his economy.
All right, this drop coming in towards that natural base. Oh, Snute coming in, but the reinforcements of uThermal are here as well. Battling toe-to-toe against these roaches, more coming down. It looks like Snute should be able to clear this army, but in the meantime, this drop in the natural, killing a lot of drones.
So many drones dying here. Snute gets rid of the bulk of the problem, which is that army, but these Marines are getting incredible damage. Snute really had his sights set on that siege tank Bioforce at the front lines. He is going to get that 4th base up, but at what cost? 17 drones. Now with 4 bases and 51 drones, he's actually still in a very tough spot economically.
Gosh, losing over 30 drones so far this game, going for this roach-type tech, and not gaining any sorts of advantage. He's about to be up against 2-2. Sure, he has 2-2 himself, but the later we get into the game, the closer we get in supplies, these roaches are not going to pay for themselves in battle.
And how is Snute supposed to get these scary tier 3 forces up without that much of a bank? Like those Ultras, those Vipers. It's uThermal coming out of the wall in here, trying to pick off anything he can, giving his tanks a little bit more vision. Dropping into the main again. Snute really doesn't have resources to split on defense and attack here. And he looks like he's got too much on the attack with not a whole lot at home. The Queens are coming back. There's a Thor down here.
A single Thor drop while going bio against Zerg. Okay, I've seen it all at this point. uThermal everywhere, picking off these Queens.
No transfusions.
Oh, yeah, a lot of energy even on them. Snute just being out multitasked at this point.
He's really starting to fall down here against uThermal. He's just really gotten inside of his head in game number 1. 6 drones have gone down for a very small investment. uThermal can afford to throw a few things away. Snute really can't anymore. Another hatchery kill or another big round of drones killed by uThermal's harassment, and that would certainly be the last nail in the coffin for game 1.
All right, a lot of Marauders coming out right now to try to balance the kind of army composition he's going up against these roaches. They're going to help out so much against the roaches with that additional damage. Great for tanking as well. uThermal's army getting to be so scary. I don't know what Snute is even supposed to do against this.
Going to make as many units as he can and try and trade well, but it's so tough. There's not much splash damage, not much infestors, no Hydras either for a bit of damage output. This Thor is going to go down. There's that hatchery kill that I was worried about here, and I'm really worried for Snute's chances in game 1 here, Artosis. I think he's starting to slowly die.
Yeah, this is getting pretty bad at this point. uThermal going maybe for the death blow right now, bringing his full army to bear. Snute coming down with the Roaches and Ravagers that remain. A great anti-armor missile.
Now they're all shredded to pieces here, and they circle around and try to pick up those tanks, and they get a couple of them, but 2 of them are still alive. The bio is standing and fighting. Those roaches really tanking for this bio and taking him out, and he pushes uThermal back again. Also, his drone count is not too bad, but we have to address the elephant in the room here, and that is he is still a 3-base Zerg.
Yeah, you cannot be playing 3-base against a 4-base Terran. Not just that, you're on roaches and down supply. Everything is against Snute.
He needs to double expand here, but uThermal's not giving him enough room to breathe to even take one hatchery, let alone two. Infestor is on the way here for Snute Group Spines as well, so maybe to potentially get some Hydralisks out. And that's a lot of resources. And look at Snute's bank. At this point, normally the Zerg has a bit more in the bank here. Ooh, trying to 360 no-scope that back there, but uThermal's too good. He's looking at the medevac. He's still alive.
No problem. A little bit of course correction right there. Good try by Snute, though. Snute, he is on Hive Tech. He's getting his 3-3 for his Roach Ravager, adding in some Vipers as well. Maybe Spellcasters can start to bring him back into this game, but I feel like the only thing that's going for him is this creep spread.
Yeah. Creep spread's really, really nice, which is a general result of having Queens losing a few Roaches there for free. Not the greatest in the world. Somehow Snute's been actually fighting some really good engagements with these Roaches, but he's been struggling with the defense here. No Spore Crawlers in the main. The Queen's also leaving. The hatchery denied again. Oh, man.
Oh, my God. It drops absolutely everywhere. uThermal's multitasking on point so far this game. And this is just a losing battle. Another 13 drones going down. Something like 50 drones have been killed this game thus far.
66.
Oh,
you undersold it.
I undersold it indeed. And this should be it. Snute coming in, trying to hold on. A great fungal, to be honest. He is doing it best he can, but with this many Marauders, there is no hope left for our Norwegian Zerg.
Yeah, too much Terran on the dance floor, and Snute is he just doesn't have the staying power. GG. uThermal with a very dominant game one there. It felt like he started the game ahead and ended the game ahead.
Yeah.
At no point was Snute ever even equal grounds here with the Dutch Terran.
Yeah, it was a tough one. uThermal, he made openings for himself. I like the double Raven harassment. He found a way in with those Hellions as well. Snute, you know, you drop your guard for a second and you lose 17 drones. And once you lose those 17 drones, you are in a very tough spot indeed.
66 drones died in that game.
Yeah.
He ended up having 70 towards the end there, so it's like so much lava and so many resources being spent to replenish the damage done to his economy. But Snute's engagements were actually pretty good. If I want to talk about what went well for Snute there, Roach Ravager, we talked about it. We were like, oh, this isn't very good against Biotank, especially when we got 2-2 and a good number of Marauders out. But somehow he was having really good fights, on Dreamcatcher no less.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe that if Snute can lock down his defenses a little bit more, deflect the drops of uThermal and not take that much economical damage, then I really think that Snute could actually make this game look one side and the other way. It is pretty bright in here, so please put your sunglasses on, guys. Protect your eyes.
Yeah, indeed. But look, this just shows Snute's level. The fact that you can even stay in a game with uThermal for that long when he's done that much damage to you, when you're playing at a deficit with a weaker unit composition. But Snute is very good with that set of units. But you know what? That was uThermal's map pick. That's Dreamcatcher. That's generally considered very Terran favored.
Now, that's a sign on the far left where we did crunch the numbers. I don't know if he quite has 100% against Terran, especially considering he just lost.
You know, 50 is half the way to 100. I'm going to give it to him.
That is true.
I think he's done his homework. He's done due diligence on that stat. Our next map is Snute's pick. It's going to be Lost and Found. I think he's going to have a much better chance holding on against uThermal here.
Yeah, harassment a little bit easy to deal with on Lost and Found, but let's see how he does as we get into it. And guys, let's introduce our players in the bottom left here. Hailing from Holland, this is Team Liquid's uThermal. I want my very own Shibu. I think Team Liquid needs to get onto that merch. I want a Shibu with a Team Liquid hat on it. Right now, come on, Nazgul. And the top right here, also from Team Liquid, the Norwegian Zerg. This is Snute.
Well, Maynard, you might be wanting a Shibu plush with a Team Liquid hat, but all I want from Team Liquid is a mana plush. All right, as a Protoss player myself, unfortunately, he was eliminated a bit early on. The last two Team Liquid members battling here in the round of 16.
Yeah, poor Mana not able to repeat that incredible performance in Austin. Jeez, the scalps that he took, especially in the playoffs, were incredible. Getting through Need. Special. Snute as well.
Yeah, Snute as well. Will Snute once again be eliminated by a teammate?
I feel like it happens a lot.
Well, you know, it's kind of a funny thing. Sometimes you get these tight-knit teams of players, and their most fearsome opponents are oftentimes each other. You know, we see this in Korea as well, where it's like, well, Rogue's winning every tournament. Oh, sorry, you hit teammate Maru. Maru, who are you afraid of? Oh, my teammates. And here we have, once again, Team Liquid eating its own to move forward.
Well, there can only be one. It's like Highlander here in StarCraft 2 land. There's only one victor in the game. We only have one crown for one head. Can't crown all 16 like we'd like to do maybe, but you know, this is a 1v1 game and it's the nature of it. And Team Liquid's just, their players are so good that they're always going to be in that top 8. They're never going to see a top 8 without Team Liquid players in it.
Oh yeah, always going to be representing right up there at the top. Now, will it be Snute or will it be uThermal? uThermal's had a bit of a rough patch recently. He hasn't won a big tournament since 2016. His placements haven't been what he's used to as well. So I'm sure he is, you know, he's on fire this weekend for sure. He's been eliminating a lot of great players so far. But again, round of 16 is like, that's low for Snute. You'd expect him to get further.
Absolutely. Reaper coming back here. That's a very hurt drone that he might try and die for. He doesn't in the end. The Queen just hatches in time. So Reaper not finding any damage, gets a bit of scout information, and most importantly, it survives. So it keeps a bit of information on the outside of the map. And to bring it up, like, you know, in map none, you're talking about how emotional Snute can be and how he can get inside of his own head and sometimes you know, overthink things and get really down on himself. uThermal's very similar in that regard as well. He actually, you know, part of the reason why he was having such a rough time is because he felt like the stage was cursed for him. Every time he was on stage, he would lose. He talked about, I think he said the last 8 or so stage matches he played in a row, he lost. So it's, he was all smiles with Smix, and I was very, very happy to see. As a big uThermal fan, and he's also a friend of mine, I just love seeing him in that positive mindset and feeling a lot better here in Valencia.
Yeah, and I hope that does continue onwards for him. You know, a lot of these top players do get very tough on themselves. They expect so much out of themselves. But when you get a group like this round of 16, that's everybody. Everybody is training each and every day as hard as they can, putting in 100% of their effort to be the best players possible. And I mean, when those guys, I guess you get games like we've seen so far today.
Yeah, certainly. Very high-level StarCraft as a result of that. Oh, Reaper getting caught. Doesn't quite die, though. I like what he's doing with this Reaper, just trying to maybe tax a little bit of the APM there of Snute while he gets his 3rd CC up back at home. He knows that he's on 3 hatcheries. He hasn't really seen any juicy tech discoveries from Snute here. And that's something that Snute's going to have to be aware of, is that the Reaper's still out there, is still sharking around. And I like that he's putting creep in the main base as well. He's dropping a creep shimmy here to make sure that he has as much map vision as possible. Because the drops really did hurt him last game, to say the least. So this is gonna help him out there.
No doubt at all about that. Now, what we see from uThermal here is the same thing that we saw last game, actually. A big clump of Hellions running into the natural. Snute a little bit out of position. 5 drones already, 10 drones falling.
Jeez, how does this happen? The Hellions just running into the natural, 13 drones go down.
Oh, he even gets out with a couple of them. Scouts out that 3rd base.
And he sees no drones there, which means the drone count of his opponent is very, very low.
This is not good for Snute right now, I gotta say. The double Raven coming out, a scan into the main base. He spots the fact that there is 2 evolution chambers coming up pretty quickly here for Snute as well. Counters that by throwing down his own couple of engineering bays, and it looks like this game, not Roach-based tech with melee attack on the way.
Yeah, possibly Lingbane Hydra, or even potentially Lingbane Muta, which I'm seeing a bit more these days.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. It can be pretty good against some of the harassment plays, but right now, with this many Hellions coming up, as well as the Ravens getting into position for some harassment, Snute has got to stay aware of where these are. Here they go into the natural.
Not again. The Queens are coming in from the main base. The drone's being pulled to help out the Queens here in the natural. Oh, they're lining up a little bit in the south of that hatchery, but not enough Hellions to splash damage them down. However, 6 still die. Snute is still ahead in workers, and uThermal is losing a lot of minerals here with these Hellions, but I still feel like it's worth it. Using some of that lava to slow down Snute's economy. I mean, obviously, this is Snute we're talking about. He's going to be making drones in for a while anyway, but this is still nice damage.
Yeah, his multitasking this time maybe just slightly off. When he lost those Hellions, this Raven didn't come in, so it's unable to throw down any auto turrets. And it looks like the harassment from uThermal is coming to an abrupt end at this point. He doesn't really have anything else to attack in with.
And I can see that the minerals lost, or the resources lost, is actually quite close. Like I said, those Hellions are not free, even though sometimes it feels like they are. And they have killed so many drones, but it is resources that uThermal's lost. The slowing down the economy is so important. Like I mentioned in game number 1, Snute was really good with his engagements. It was a different composition, but being able to pick fights against a Terran as good as uThermal is a pretty good skill to have. And we're just seeing very regular vanilla bio tank here, and it is going to be Lingbane Muta here from Snute.
Oh, that's really exciting to see, actually. And I like this choice, right? I mean, Snute positionally is fantastic with ground units. He's one of the best. But when you're playing against someone like uThermal, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 things going on at once, and then suddenly splitting your army is not so simple. But if you have a lot of Lings, a lot of Banes, a lot of Mutas, you can chase down all of these Medivacs and really punish uThermal if he makes a misstep at all.
You certainly can, but you know what? The creep spread of Snute is about to explode. He has so many active creep tumors out there on the map. The Queens are still covering that top end, and he is making sure that the top end is crept up as soon as possible, because that's such a popular push location for Terran.
Yeah.
That terrain right there, similar to Dreamcatcher, is a beautiful place to put all your siege tanks in a line, and then just have the bio shepherd them against Ling flanks with Hydralisks, or in this case, going to be Mutas, which uThermal hasn't identified yet.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to point this out, right? You say you put your siege tanks in the right location. Well, if you're playing against Lingbane Muta, suddenly the siege tanks are not as strong as, like, let's say Widow Mines would be mixed in there. So that could end up being a problem. But this push right now, hitting before there's any Mutas out, Baneling speed not quite done yet as well.
Oh, this is very, very deadly here from uThermal. His tanks are in range of that hatchery. And the Ravens there drop some auto turrets as well. He's pulling back. He's on creep, but he is trying to split up here against these Banelings. Most of the splits are all right. I think Snute has enough to clean this up, though. There's that Baneling speed, and uThermal has to leave. Pretty unceremoniously.
Yes, indeed. Said unceremoniously as well there, Maynard. But you know what? He immediately lays down the creep again. The creep spread is getting out of control. 2-2 on the way for both sides, and the Mutalisks are popping out. Snute has kind of taken control of this game, if you ask me.
Crazy aggressive early game. Those Hellions getting a lot of drone damage, but Snute's really starting to regain control of this game. The uThermal is up in army supply, but that's super common in this matchup. For the Zerg to be up in workers, the Terran to be up in army, and for the suppliers to be in Terran's favor as a result. But that doesn't mean that the Zerg is behind. He still has so many queens. Ooh, if he can get this hatchery, though, that might be a different thing, and that's a nice pick off there for uThermal.
Yeah, that 5th base will be denied for now, but you know what? It's the 5th base, not the 4th base. So Snute's still all right with that. He's still going to be fine. He's starting to really gather up his Mutalisk count a little bit. And something I do want to point out, Burrow on the way.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Borrowed Banelings. Delicious. Must be my birthday.
The very best Zergs in the world right now starting to do this. People like Rogue, people like Leenock, now Snute here as well. We'll see if he can get any of that to go off against uThermal. A very high skill move.
Is he watching these Marines? Yes, he is. He stems back just in time. Those Bailey's potentially could have got a lot of Marines there. And in fact, he does a lot of damage. Oh, no, the Mutas. Okay, the Mutas have to pull back. Take a lot of damage there. Unfortunate overextension. Losing a couple. Snute has been trading worse than uThermal in this game, but his economy's still pretty rockin', and with that 4 bases, like you mentioned, not the biggest of deals. I like that he delayed his Hive a little bit more in this game, even though he is getting melee upgrades, so probably going to go into Ultralisks.
Yeah.
I like that he's delayed the Hive a little bit and concentrated on making sure his tier 2 is a lot safer.
Yeah, you know, he just kind of needs to stay safe as of right now, especially if you're getting something like Burrow. It's another tool to kind of shut down some of these big attacks coming in from Terran, but he's going to try to get something done here with the Mutas. Not sure exactly how much they'll do, but they are keeping uThermal back for a little bit, and that's an important thing to do as Zerg as well, while you're trying to grow, while you're getting your creep spread.
And on the Terran side of things, you have tech lab factories because you're very often making tanks blindly in this matchup because they are so good against the Lingbane Hydra meta or against Rogue Hydra even. And as a result, there are tech lab factories, and your best way to use those against Mutas is to make some Thors, which uThermal is getting. If your opponent really commits to tier 2, Thors are incredibly crucial.
Indeed, you're right about that. Ooh, a nice anti-armor missile hitting those Mutalisks. So going to be very hard to utilize those, especially the Liberators. Trying to hunt them down, going to be very useful with that anti-armor missile. Now, uThermal's starting to push. They're at about the same supply. Great upgrades on both sides. But, you know, Lingbane Muta, it can be a little bit hard to take these big supply fights with it.
Now, without a flank, if you go down a choke point against Terran, they will shred your army to pieces. But if you find a flank, if it's a position where you have a ball of Lings and Banes on one side, ball of Lings and Banes on the other, and maybe even a third spot where the Mutas fly in, then you can clean it up and trade efficiently. But unless you have that, That's very tough to do.
Yeah.
These Thors are actually a big thorn in the side of Snute here, who has those mutas. There's a lot of supply and resources in those mutas.
Now, look at this. uThermal's going deep on creep right now, so a big flank is coming in. Most of the units, though, coming from the top. Great anti-armor missiles as well.
Baneling's looking for some Marines here. There's a few left over. They're heading towards the right-hand side. uThermal splitting relatively nicely. A bunch of Marines are still left over. And the army of Snute is very vulnerable to Marines.
What army of Snute, Maynard? He has 4 queens left over after that. But uThermal pushing forward into the third. It looks like he's going to kill a ton of drones and the hatchery. A gigantic victory for our Terran.
Oh, man, that engagement, just keeping those Marines alive, and even the medevac survive as well, is bad news bears for the Zerg. He's trying to morph Banelings, but uThermal's on top of them, and it's just too much again. GG, uThermal. What a series so far from him. This might be our third 3-0 in a row. He is looking on fire on stage.
It could well be. I mean, this isn't what I'm used to seeing from Snute, to be honest, but he did stay on that layer tech a little bit longer like you talked about. We didn't see any of the Baneling landmines go off, and uThermal hit a nice composition. He had those Thors. He made a great spread. That final attack from Snute just completely ineffectual.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit. It's just that that composition needs to hit from as many angles as possible. If you can get 360 on that, that's fantastic. But it's so rare in StarCraft, especially on maps like Lost and Found, to be able to do that. Darkness Sanctuary, I could see you hitting a 360 surround there on a Terran army, no problem. But on Lost and Found, it's a little trickier. And the army is just so vulnerable to Marines if there's no Banelings remaining.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw some anti-armor missiles in there. How quickly are your Zerglings going to die at that point? They just... Everything gets mowed down. You don't really have a lot of health in that army. It's very quick, very nimble, great at counterattacking, cleaning up anything that's happening around the map. But these big sieges, if the Terran gets in a position, a unit composition like that is basically the opposite of what Snute was doing in Game 1 with the Roaches.
Oh, man. For the sake of Snute and Snute fans out there, I am sending my energy. I got a little bit left over. I'm sending a bit Snute's way because I'm a fan of both these guys. I love Team Liquid. I love the players. They're always so sweet, and they're incredibly good at the game. So what's not to love about uThermal? What's not to love about Snute? But I just want him to fight back here. He can get inside his own head. I just hope that he can reset after that second game and just have a fresh slate in his brain for Game 3. And try and cut the emotion out of it.
Yeah, I am hoping that he can kind of pull it together here going into game number 3. You don't want to be 3-0 at this point in the round of 16. Snute's year has not been bad by any means. Maybe for him, he feels like it's not what he wants, but we got to see him continue to pick up these WCS points if he wants to go to BlizzCon this year, of course. The same can be said on the other side. uThermal actually needs some deep runs here at the last couple events if he wants to make it to the global finals.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those points matter so much here. We're in the third stop here for WCS. There's not too many stops, not too many spots to be able to get those WCS points. So they become more and more precious the later the year goes down. We're over halfway through now.
Indeed. Well, our third map looks like it's going to be 16-bit. Our Terran player's been picking this up against Zerg a little bit early. We saw that from Special as well. Definitely a lot of ways that you can try to harass with your medevacs, that back natural, kind of in a location where you can fly in and out of very quickly. And the way uThermal's been playing, I'm sure this is going to be part of his plan.
I'm with you there. It's just such a good multitask area. His harassment's been incredibly powerful every single game. Game 1, Hellions, straight in the natural, goodbye drones. Game 2, again, Hellions, straight in the natural, goodbye drones. And it's in the teens as well. It's not like he's killing 6 or 7 and we're like, you know, that's okay. It's like 13, 14 drones. And they're like, okay, that's actually pretty substantial.
You know, I wonder, sometimes we've seen Zergs in the past make their evolution chambers in locations where they help to wall a little bit. Here we've been seeing Snute, he's just throwing them down in his main base. He's not really paying as much attention, it feels like, to the front where these Hellions are just running into the same place, like you say.
It is so common when you go for that heavy queen style with so much creep spread to just be very confident in your ability to stop run-bys like that. But uThermal knows his teammates so well.
Yeah.
And he really took advantage of it there in Game 1 and Game 2. But this is Game 3, and run-bys are a little tougher on this bad boy. In the top right, on match point, this is Team Liquid's uThermal. That's the exact toy I want. Shibu with the hat. Well. Done and dusted. Easy merge, Team Liquid, you're welcome. In the bottom left, also from Team Liquid, really against the ropes. Send them your energy. This is Snute. Yeah, Valencia, that's what I'm talking about. Channel, baby.
Lots of Snute fans here and around the world. Hopefully, we can show a better game here in game number 3, or he is out of this tournament. uThermal, on the other hand, looks like he's getting this nice quick gas. We'll see what he wants to do tech-wise.
I feel like both these players have actually been massive inspirations for their races in the European region. Like, I have a lot of people in the StarCraft community that I talk to every day at home, on Discord, on whatever forums, etc. And every time I have, I'm talking to a Diamond or a Masters level Zerg, they have that heavy Queen style where they look so much like Snute. Obviously not anywhere near as mechanically good, and then on the other side of the spectrum, we're seeing people like uThermal inspire people to go for that bio style and that 1-1-1 sort of style where he has that Hellion opener, he goes for the drop play, he's just always multitasking as much as possible, and that regular style is an inspiration to the European Terrans. Along with Euromarine, of course, is also a massive inspiration for European Terrans.
Yeah, well, I think uThermal specifically has been the best European Terran for a few years now, and I mean, Snute, not just one of the best Zergs, but one of the best non-Korean players of all time. Like, if you look at actual results over the course of the past 6 years, no one comes close to Snute.
Almost $500,000 in winnings. It's not bloody bad.
It's pretty crazy what he's been able to accomplish thus far.
But you know what? For these pro gamers, it's very rarely about the money. It's about the glory. It's about saying that you are the greatest player in StarCraft 2 at that point in the game.
Very well said, Maynard, because, I mean, to be this good... Oh, my God, he might get a drone. Look at that. Very close, but Snooze Micro good. These pro gamers, this is so not about the money. No. There are so many easier things that make you more money than playing the hardest video game in the world against the other really smart, hardworking players in the world. But at the same time, definitely making a pretty penny here with $20,000 on the line for first place in WCS Valencia.
And a few thousand WCS points as well for the Big Daddy tournament at the end of the year, the Global Finals. Queen's pulling back this Reaper. The Reaper will go back. Very, very important on 16-bit because of how big the main is to connect the natural and the creep and the main with creep. So that'll be a priority for Snute here. There it is. First creep shimmy going down.
Yeah, and should be taking that back natural pretty soon, I would imagine. Definitely important to get up your 3 bases as Zerg. There goes the drone now.
Yeah, that pocket base is actually quite rarely for Zerg to take this pocket base as your natural. A third at the front is pretty nice because you expand towards the Terran, you have a bit more creep spread on the map, but it is a lot more vulnerable to that proxy Rax play, which we haven't seen in this series at all so far. And I kind of predicted that uThermal would be the guy that would do that.
Well, I think he will if he starts losing some games. Well, may as well do what works.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, he's going for the same opening as well, by the way, as we talk about just the same sort of same old for uThermal.
You know what, though, Maynard? I'm actually a little bit surprised about that. I wasn't expecting to see this same build, lots of Hellions, double Raven. Not that, I think the Raven harassment definitely can do some work, but your third base is in the back. The Hellions only have one entrance. Yeah, the odds of them getting in is so much lower.
Yeah, at the start I mentioned the run-by potential on 16-bit is so much, so much less because of the fact that you have that pocket base. So these Hellions, you can actually consolidate all your defenses in one spot like this with those 4 queens, and it's very hard to get past them. Reaper's going to die here.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why he would be doing this same strategy. Sure, it worked out well, but certainly part of the reason why he was able to win games 1 and 2 was roasting that many drones. Now, 8 Hellions are coming out. It's no laughing matter, but if Snute has his standard 7-8 queens in the front, there is no way you can run in against that. There is no way you're going to get 10, 15 drones.
No way, no how. It's going to be up to this auto turret harassment. Obviously, no medevacs yet for uThermal. He's trying for that run by, but not this time. Deflected by the queens. And the Raven taking a bit of damage there. He loses 1 drone, but that's the first bit of economic damage that Snute's taken this game.
Yeah, this is already looking a lot better for Snute. He's actually adding double evolution chamber right now to get those quick upgrades, going for the melee again, getting the Baneling Nest. So, the same type of style as last game, but with much better defense.
Certainly. Second Raven here from uThermal, and it's important that he keeps these Ravens alive as well, because as we've seen in each of these games, these Ravens play a crucial part in his pushes later. They do the armor shredder against the Lings and the Banes, or even Roaches in game 1. And
Snute's so ready for them, though.
Too many queens.
Yeah, you just got to turn around and run. So I think he's almost done with the rest. Those queens are waiting, but a little bit out of position, so it actually is going to end up getting 3 drones. That's really legitimate for an auto turret.
Not too bad, but we're not seeing those, teens of drones going down. So
Yeah.
Snute's, as a result, his economy is all right. He can hit into that Ling Bane Muta style a little bit quicker. He's got his upgrades a little bit quicker. And he's going to have a bit more units as a result as well. So this push from uThermal, which almost certainly is going to come, when you're up in army supply as a Terran, you just come across the map with a bunch of Marines, tanks, and medevacs and try and, do a lot of damage to the Zerg or potentially even win the game right there. And Snute's going to have a lot more to work with this time.
Yeah, I don't foresee uThermal really getting too much done in the early game, which means Snute should be able to expand his creep exponentially around the map, get it halfway, get up to whatever tech he wants, into his 2-2, go up to that high tech. I'm feeling very good about this game for Snute right now, and I think he is as well.
Yeah, definitely. Even the creep hasn't really been dealt with. Like the Ravens and the Hellions haven't been together to be able to push back the creep at any point. See that this might be the start of that. So we have the Ravens and the Hellions here at this watchtower. Denying creep is so important, especially against a guy like Snute who has so many queens. You can replenish it so quickly. So I like to see a bit more of that from uThermal, but that 4th base is going up for Snute and really very unchallenged.
Yeah, the creep is kind of far out there, and uThermal is coming now to challenge it, and he has Hellbats in the front. So against a mostly Zergling army, this would be great, but Baneling's speed is about to finish, and that means those Hellbats are going to be killed instantaneously.
Yeah, and there's only a couple medevacs that don't have enough room to be able to load up into those Hellbats, so he's going to be losing a bit here, but how much will it be? Snute crashing through with a bunch of Lings and Banelings, and it looked like that uThermal had Armor Shredder missile on him with how quickly his army evaporated there, and Snute deflects the Terran completely.
Okay, so this is really this is very educational, I think, for everyone watching, right? You look at this game, you look at the previous game and how it's going. This is the difference between 10 extra drone kills. Snute is in fantastic shape. uThermal's lost a lot of units here. Their upgrades are similar. Both of them are hitting their builds and everything. It's just Snute hasn't been crippled early on.
And now he has Mutalisks, so the Ravens, the medevacs are now under threat. The bio tank is the strongest threat, though, in this army. That is the most powerful part of uThermal's army. Now he's starting to get rid of some of this creep with the Ravens, which I'm loving to see here from uThermal. And he's getting his tanks up in a nice spot as well. Snute, though, with quite a bit of army supply. I don't know how many. Okay, he has quite a few Banelings. I like this for Snute if he can get that surround.
And I think he's going to be able to come up here and really get rid of all this army. Pushes it back. Great hot pickup on that siege tank. Oh, nice anti-armor missile as well from uThermal.
Yeah, even some of these queens going to get caught and taken down. That's actually a very good start to this engagement with uThermal. And Snute pulled back there. Was maybe a little bit of indecisiveness, but I'm glad that he did pull back because he is so far off creep that I feel like it wouldn't have been a good trade in the end. Snute is going to get this 5th hatchery to the north up in the back of this, so he's going to be able to head towards Hive pretty comfortably here, I feel.
Yeah, and his creep spread is not perfect because uThermal's been keeping on that pressure. He's gotten those 2 Ravens early on and kept them alive, so very nice stuff. But Snute's on top of his upgrades. He hasn't taken drone damage, and that is such an important aspect here.
Any drone, any Zerg losing drones is a huge nightmare. But if any Zerg out there doesn't lose any drones, the Terran is generally in a rough spot because they can just spread out of control, especially when you're as good as Snute is. Muta's coming in here. There's only 1 turret, so maybe they get an SCV. Not even that, actually, deflected.
Well, he's trying to be active with them right now. He's forced some Thors out as well, but I don't think the Mutas are going to do very much of anything.
Oh, a Raven kill here would be nice.
Oh my God, he got both Ravens. That's so
massive.
worth it. You don't even need to have Mutas anymore. That's amazing to kill those off. They've been a huge problem for Snute so far.
Double Spore Crawler really locking down this medevac. It could drop on the outside, maybe clear up some creep on the edge here, but don't know if that medevac's going to get too deep into that drone line. He's going to do exactly as I said.
Gonna remove as much as he can. It will get cleaned up, of course. Especially with these Mutas coming in. He's going to try to do a little bit of micro with that.
My God!
Huge attack here from Snute into the natural, going up the ramp towards the main. Still has a lot of Banelings here, has a lot of options, and decides to roll in.
And roll in he does with 14 SCVs going down as a result. Now Snute, if he can stop this attack, even if he loses a hatchery here, that kind of damage is pretty sick. uThermal has a very, very scary army, and Snute needs to get these Banelings up. He needs to slow down the Terran and keep him away from this cluster of Banelings that he's trying to morph right now. Snute just got spotted there with his Banelings being morphed for the scanner uThermal.
You know, it's 2 siege tanks to kind of try to hit Banelings. He doesn't have anti-armor missiles as well. This is Snoot's chance. He has to kill this army before the rest of uThermal's army comes up here. Because when these units join up, uThermal's army strength is going to more than double.
Absolutely. Snoot's got 51 Banelings here, and that is quite a bit. He doesn't have that high of a muta count, so the ability to get rid of Liberators and Medivacs is quite light, but that also kind of means that these Thors aren't going to be super useful. uThermal saw some units coming from the north there as a reinforcement, so I'm pretty sure that, you know, he would at least assume that there's a base there if he's thinking about it a little bit, but...
Yeah, shouldn't he send at least a couple units up there if he knows it's there? Maybe he just doesn't know. I don't know, but he pulls back, chooses to just retreat and reinforce his army. He's nearly maxed out, so I understand. But here comes the Ling Bane Muta. Let's see what Snute can do.
He's very far off creep here, so he needs to pick this fight and play it very, very carefully. Marines more than happy to just see 2/2 Lings flying around here. And speaking of the upgrades, 3 is on the way for the Terran, because Snute did take his time getting that hive in this game.
Yeah, that can definitely be an issue as well. Back in the old days when it was always Bio versus Ling Bane Muta.
Oh, these Banelings! Oh, a big hit for the Marines there. Absolutely worth it for Snute.
Yeah, fantastic move. Finally utilizing that burrow that we saw in the previous game as well. Snute moving around, trying to get a flank here. The one queen bravely standing above these rocks does get shot down.
And this tank's position is so tough to deal with for Snute. He doesn't have that many mutas. He has a ton of Banelings. A few of them are going down to the Marines and the siege tanks, though.
Yeah, this is not a very defendable position with those siege tanks down there. Snute running around to the other side. Oh, a counterattack. He's decided this is his best chance here, and uThermal turns around to defend.
Big decisive maneuver there from Snute, trying to pull those siege tanks unsieged out of position. Snute crashes in from the left and from the north here with a bunch of those Banelings. The tanks are unsieged, and this is the time for Snute to strike.
Oh, a beautiful move by Snute. He takes out many of the siege tanks, a few left over, and Snute backs up. He used a lot of his Lings and Banelings there, so he has to replenish.
I'm still so worried for Snute, though. He's getting his 3/3 right now, very, very far behind the Terran. 3/3 is almost done for uThermal, and he still has a very powerful army. Snute, when he gets his ultras out, it might be a different story, but at the moment, his army is still so vulnerable to the Thors and the Marines.
Yeah, this is very scary coming up here as uThermal, his 3/3. When this finishes, the damage output of Marines is already so high, but if you're up 2 upgrades, it becomes very difficult for the Zerg to fight.
Base count's looking great for Snute. He's at that point where his economy is looking very, very, very good, so that's not the problem. He just needs to keep uThermal away for a while so we can get those very scary tier 3 units up. Borrowed Banelings here from uThermal outside of that scan.
Yeah, I don't know if he saw that. It looks like he's walking around it for now, so that's good, but let's see if he can actually siege up here. Ultralisk tech is here, so once those are out, this army is going to have a much harder time. But if he can hit before these upgrades finish, before the Ultras join the army, that is going to be awesome for our Terran.
His Queens are standing and fighting with his Marines, no problem. Snute had more mutas. He could probably bait a bunch of Marines into these Banelings, but these Thors really kind of negate that strategy. Queen's getting transfusions here to be kept alive. A bunch of Banelings rolling forward. Going to get a bunch of Marines. And even one of the Thors nearly dies. Oh my god, a massive run by from Snute in the third base. These Slings don't have 3/3 and Adrenal just yet, but they still are so high in number.
Yeah,
oh,
the Banelings. Oh my god, great connections there. The Thor actually does end up tanking quite a bit. These Lings trying to take down a few Marines, but you can really see just the damage output plus those additional 2 upgrades helping so much for uThermal.
That play right there was Snute desperately trying to slow down uThermal. Like I mentioned, he wants these Ultras, he wants those upgrades, 3/3 and Adrenaline, he wants those Corruptors up in the sky as well. He gets a couple SCVs, so not really worth it there for Snute, but the whole plan was to just use a lot of money to slow down the Terran.
And look at this, Snute has to give up this base. Luckily for him, he is taking another base down at 6 o'clock. uThermal in the meantime floating another command center over, getting building armor even at this point. They are both getting very big and very scary. With these Ultralisks coming out, though, it's going to give Snute renewed hope in killing off uThermal's army.
Absolutely. Like, even though the Bio has 3/3, it is just all Marines. He ends up detonating those Banelings on a couple Marines there, so not as juicy as he would like. Oh, Snute, do not do this. And pulls back with those Lings. Doesn't want to take any more bad trades here. He already spent so much money on that attempt to slow down uThermal.
All right, there's 5 Ultras out. He's also grabbing a bunch of Corruptors right now. These are going to help out against Medivacs, help out against the Liberators as well. This, we're going to see some crazy clashes come up very soon. Looks like Snute moving up towards the north while uThermal's army out of position here.
And because he has these Corruptors and even a couple of Mutas alive, this CC is actually in a lot of threat, Artosis.
Does he try to chase it down? Oh, I love this trap.
Yeah, he's going to try and bait those Marines to deal with the Corruptors. That is uThermal's only way of dealing with these Corruptors is Marines.
Well, are they going to actually come up? He's going to leave his Mutas on this. He might get that command center. That's a solid kill.
If the Corruptors were here, he would certainly get it. And it looks like it might survive, actually. I feel like that might have been a bit of a mistake there from Snute. The Corruptors on that would have almost certainly killed it.
Yeah, you're certainly right. He would have been able to pick that off. But it ends up living. You know, there's extra command centers he could float there. So, you know, maybe not the biggest thing, but definitely a small mistake here for Snute.
So uThermal's not gotten a Ghost Academy just yet. He's going to rely on Liberators here with advanced ballistics, that extra bit of range, and air upgrades to be his anti-ultraless countermeasure. Snute catching uThermal on the way through the middle of the map here, but it turns out uThermal's catching Snute as a result.
Yeah. Sets up beautifully. Look at those liberation zones, all the siege tanks as well. Oops, single ultra out of position momentarily. More Corruptors being made. A counterattack coming up from Snute.
That's the Fusion Core and also the Tech Lab getting advanced ballistics here. That's a massive pick off for Snute if he gets this.
Yeah, and in fact, he does end up getting it. Will he get the Fusion Core as well?
That's massive. So now he's going to slow down the power of the Liberator here, which is nice. And even a starport flying through the sky.
Without that Liberator range, these Liberators are going to be picked off very quickly by Corruptors. He's not going to be able to cover them well. So that was a big kill, and he almost gets that command center as well. Snute fighting back valiantly in this game 3.
Yeah, this is when Snute's so comfortable. When it gets to the later stages of the game, you pass the 15-minute mark, he has 70 to 80 drones, tier 3, and this is when Snute is just happy to just play StarCraft. This is the StarCraft he knows and loves.
Indeed, and you know, he's got so many great upgrades. He's moving his army like the pro he is. Here we go. Coming in for this engagement, getting on top of these Marines instantly.
Oh my.
The Corruptors punishing the skies.
He gets rid of all the Marines and all the Thors and everything goes down here for uThermal on the high ground. Snute takes a massive army supply advantage. He did lose a few Ultras, but he's got 5 more where that came from. Doesn't have too many Lings and Banes left, but there's so little bio for uThermal that these Ultras don't care.
Yeah, those Corruptors so valuable right now as well. uThermal has to be very, very careful indeed. The Ultras turning around.
Oh, nice Liberator.
Yeah, good harassment actually still happening. Good multitasking here from uThermal, keeping the harassment alive.
Corruptors diving on his command center here. Ultras keeping them alive. Batting those Marines away from those Corruptors, and it looks like this time the command center should be able to go down. Come on, Snute. You can do it, buddy.
Don't turn around. Kill it. Oh, he turns around.
And he's like, wait. Okay, got it.
Not another one is getting away. Corruptors might be trapped at this point. Oh, my gosh. This Liberator actually being a hero. 21 kills before it gets taken out.
But Snute's done so much economical damage to uThermal that he still is ahead quite a bit here in workers. 55 versus the 33 of the Terran. Yes, Terran has mules, but that means that he doesn't have full gas saturation, which means that those things like Liberators and Ghosts and whatever you need for Tier 3 Zerg is not available to him. Look at how little he's producing right now.
Yeah, uThermal is really hurt at this point. He's almost on life support, whereas Snute has so much of the map. I feel like there's not a lot left here for uThermal.
And it looks like Snute is in control of this game here on 16-bit. uThermal tried to harass him. This time it didn't work out. That Burrowed Ling is there again. And that's a lot of Liberators. This is uThermal's time. If he can make this happen, if he can go for the dream engagement, maybe he can get himself that 3-0, but at the moment, it looks like Snute's fighting back.
This is really the last chance for uThermal. He cannot replace this. Army's got almost no income. Here we go, the big engagement from Snute. The Ultras running onto the liberation zones, getting past them. The Corruptors clearing the Liberators, and it looks like uThermal is going to be killed.
Certainly does. There's way too much Zerg here from Snute, and he is pushing the Dutch Terran all the way back. GG! Valencia sent in the energy, and it was received. Snute fights back in game 3, and we're going to see a game 4, Artosis.
Yeah, all right. We got ourselves a series here, Maynard. I was really afraid that we'd have another 3-0. This time maybe going to Terran, but Snute showing his skills when he can prevent those drones from dying early on. He is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Turns out if you don't lose 13, 15 drones, you can do pretty well in the mid to late game there. Beautiful stuff from Snute.
Yeah, now our next map is going to be Catalyst. And I'm very interested because this map we've seen from some other top Terrans like Maru. There's some very abusable positions for siege tanks here. But so far, uThermal almost stubbornly has been staying on this big 8-10 Hellion push with double Raven. Do you think he's going to remain playing with this style?
I think it's a bit stronger in Catalyst. I think 16-bit is the weakest possible map for that kind of opening because of that pocket base. Catalyst, I can see it working.
Sure.
But, I mean, Snute just has to make an adjustment here and there, and I don't see that style actually working. Like, if he doesn't get 13 drones, then that opener, the most it gets him is like a little bit of a contain there. Like, it slows down, you know, the Lings and the drones there at the third base. The saturation of the Zerg, you know, is going to make a bit more units. It's going to micro those queens around, but he can still remain strong. Those Hellions aren't always going to do damage.
All right, well, we are going to see what he does in just a moment after this quick break.
Buenos dias, my friends. It is time for Game 4. Snute, down but not out. We got uThermal still a match point, but he's showing the world, and even partially himself, that he has the skills to be able to remove uThermal from this tournament. Can he do it for 2 more maps in a row?
Well, we are about to see Catalyst going to be map 4. Snute must win, or he goes home.
Certainly the case. In the bottom right here from Holland, still a match point. This is uThermal. Is he though? And in the top left, from Team Liquid as well, the Zerg player from Norway, this is Snute. Had to miss FIFA because of this.
Good choices.
Not the biggest of losses.
All right. Pool first coming up. You know, uThermal did finally lose a game, maybe a little bit nervous about a possible proxy barracks play.
I feel like 50% of the TvZs have been seeing at the highest level of StarCraft have had proxies on this map, like on Catalyst specifically. There's been so many 2 and 3 Raxes, and the memes about the win rate aside, it is still such a powerful way to open in TvZ. uThermal still not going to go for the proxy. He's building his barracks back at home.
Maybe he's saving it for that game 5. You never know.
That's so 2 seasons ago. How out of fashion. Building a barracks at home.
Yeah, what is going on with that? But you know what? His strategy so far, I liked what you were saying before we went to the break where, 16-bit is the worst for this style that he's using, the double Raven, the 8, 10 Hellions. But Catalyst, it's reasonable. He could try that style again. Maybe that's what he's going for. It seems like this is what he's really practiced. He looked very good. Even when he didn't kill drones, he really made it a game against Snute there on Lost and Found.
Oh, yeah, like he didn't do the harassment damage, but his army was always so powerful and it was like an ever-present threat. Snute couldn't relax for a second.
Exactly. And so, maybe that's it. Maybe this is just like, okay, uThermal's saying, I'm just going to use my absolute best play. And it could just be that build is his absolute best play. In fact, using it twice against Snute, 3 times against Snute, I doubt if anything else would be.
Well, we are starting to see that 1-1-1 round out again for uThermal back at home. Bling's getting on in this SCV, slowing down the natural CC a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah.
You don't see Snute on the other side of the map. Just, in the series, he's been always keeping his Lings at home. And this time he's getting across the map a little earlier. I like that, actually, slowing down that CC. He's not. He's taking a bit of hit point damage to these drones, but nothing's died yet.
Pushing that Reaper out at the moment. Still chasing down some drones. Oh, he might actually end up getting one. Just barely not. Great micro there by Snute, as is expected. And let's see if he's going to go for the same build. I think he is, man. He's going over to make a tech lab for those Ravens. So, well, probably more of the same.
There is a couple things you can do with the tech lab starport. You could obviously go Banshee. You can go to Viking with Cloak researching and that sort of thing, which was, it's sort of the meta back in the day. He's been relying on Ravens very much exclusively from the starport to start things off with in every single game in the series. So, the numbers say that he should be doing that again, but there are a couple options.
Yeah, and we'll see what he's going for just momentarily here as the starport has finished up. Will it be that Raven once again? Yes.
Okay. It's kind of, when you're waiting to see what unit comes out, I'm always like looking at the resources, but it's also a similar amount of resources to get the Viking and Cloak as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
very true.
Kind of hard to tell. But the third goes down there for Snute. Oh, nice catch on that Reaper. See you later, mate.
Yeah, indeed. A good Overlord spread here as well for Snute. So he's really getting ready for any incoming harassment. That third hatchery on the way. The Hellion count starting to rise. He hasn't moved out with it quite yet. Waiting a bit longer, starts that third command, but there goes the 6 Hellions.
Yeah, away they go. And we'll see how many more Hellions uThermal wants to commit to this. Still only making 1 Hellion here from the factory that does have a reactor, so there we go. He's getting that second one on there. And there goes those Ravens, but he's going for a Banshee instead of a second Raven this time, Artosis, and there's that Cloak.
Wow, now this is a mind game coming out of uThermal right now. He's and he even kills 2 consumers. Nice.
That's really nice.
But the mind game, Maynard, this is really smart. Snute has seen the same build 3 games in a row. Right now, especially when he sees the first Raven and this many Hellions, he has to think it's the same build again.
I mean, how could you not think that it's anything different at this point? This one you've seen. You haven't seen any indicator that it's anything but. It does mean that there's going to be a little bit of a quicker stim here from uThermal. And of course, without the second Raven, it's extremely important that he doesn't lose any of them. Because they're going to be a good part of being able to soften up the army of the Zerg.
Oh, he actually just canceled Cloak.
Okay.
So, well, I like the idea behind it, but I guess he just wants a single Banshee out. Looks like Snute, though, going for that Roach Ravager style once again.
Okay. Well, like we mentioned when we saw it in game number 1, if you're going Roach Ravager and you're up a good number of supply with your Roaches, you can take a good fight. And Snute really picked great engagements on Dreamcatcher, which is very tough, especially against Terran. Yeah. So I'm feeling good for Snute in this style. It's something that he's done a lot of times in his career.
There's some Ling harassment over here. Doesn't look like it's going to get anything done of consequence. Roach Warren going up at home. No real drone kills yet, you know, just a little bit of poking here and there from uThermal.
I think because he only went the single Raven and the Banshee's not really done anything. Snoot's taken even less drone damage this game.
Yeah.
Like he's actually, he's just lost the 1.
Yeah.
Where it was at least 4 or 5, I think, from 16 bits.
That's right.
An even stronger start economically for the Zerg.
Well, that's all good stuff for Snute for sure, especially when you keep mentioning, you know, how well he did despite the herd economy with the Roach Ravager type of composition on Dreamcatcher in map 1. So looking pretty good for Snute so far as he tries to get all of his economy together, get these upgrades finished as well.
This is one of those, the thing gets undetected during the shot. It's one of those weird things in StarCraft 2 where you think it's going to kill it, but nope.
The Raven going to come up and help, going to alley-oop the kills on these creep tumors.
Nice little creep tumor dance there for Snute. You thought I can get some of these deeper tumors though. And even these 2 hurt ones, easy peasy, no problem. Slowing down that creep is very, very important for the Terran. Snute, of course, lots of queens available to him. He's only got 3 at the front lines, but it definitely has more where that came from. Comes the rest.
Now, quite a large push actually coming out right now, Maynard. He's about to have his 1-1 done, but that's already done for the Roaches. Roach speed not quite there yet. Does Snute have enough to push this back immediately?
I think he needs all these queens and all these roaches together, even the lings as well. Even though uThermal could potentially make Hellbats here now that the armory's done, this is something that Snute needs everything all together at once to be able to deal with. Armor Shredder hits a few of the units, but not too many. Most of the roaches aren't armor shredded. And now that he's got another dozen or so roaches on the way, he should be okay.
Especially with roach speed. In fact, uThermal agrees with your assessment here, picks up, gets out. But a very sharp attack. Made me nervous there for a moment for Snute, but with uThermal pulling back right now, it doesn't feel like there's going to be another time where he can attack Snute for quite a while.
And with the Infestation Pit already done, Snute can head up to tier 3 to complement this Roach Ravager style. He's catching a few of those Hellbats. They're trying to morph into Hellions to escape quicker, but as a result, we're stationary for enough time there for Snute to be able to pick off a few of them.
All right, some medevacs flying around right now. Definitely something you can play against this style. Queens are really your only anti-air, and they're very slow off creep. So able to drop over here. We'll see what type of damage you can get done. Only a single queen for defense.
Yeah, Queen's going to go down immediately, and I think a few drones as well. It looks like uThermal's actually concentrating on this position, and now he's looking up the top right here. Gets a couple drones with his Marines. Doesn't lose any Marines, but the big story is Snute attacking into this 3rd orbital here, and one of the 2 factories is right here, and he's piling it down.
Oh my God, Snute doing some great damage over here. Even just slowing down siege tank production going to help him immensely. The Hive is almost halfway done, as well as the Spire. So certainly Broodlords are going to be on the menu a bit later.
100%. That's a really, really good complement to Roach Ravager. It's going to help you out against those Marines. The Broodlings are free, and they're going to do very nicely against the tanks as well. Specifically against this style, like one of the frustrating things for Terran is when you have Siege Tank Marine against a guy that has Broodlords, the Broodlings are meleeing your Marines, and the splash damage from the Siege Tanks is killing your Marines as well as Zerg units. So it can be very, very tricky.
Yeah, it's certainly tricky. It might be an understatement there. But, you know, if we get into that insane late game, right? Tons of Ghosts, tons of Vikings, that type of thing. I feel like that's an area where Snute really excels in because he does play a slower macro style. He's been doing it for years.
He's getting multiple infestors out here. I like it from Snute. It's going to help him out. He really doesn't have an answer for the medevacs just yet, or even potentially Liberators later in the game. And drop play is going to be a very strong utility for uThermal. Another attack into this base. That factory is still so low, he could pile it down and kill it, and he does!
Wow, a big kill right there. The SCV is being pulled, but Snute actually just chooses to turn around. I think that this is just showing the level of decision-making that this guy has. Maybe it felt like he could have turned there and killed a bunch of SCVs, but that doesn't matter. What matters is keeping a big army alive to walk around and support his Broodlords with.
And he halved the tank production, which means these Roaches and Ravagers are going to be even stronger. Just straight up bio with medevac is just not that good against this many Roaches.
Yeah, look at that. The Biles keeping back this army of uThermal. He's trying to attack through the center, dropping off some of his harassment units as well. Snute actually turns onto those, but can't get up.
Gets a few of those bio units at the back end. uThermal has quite a bit of army supply here. Both players equal upgrades, 2-2 here. Snute with the style, though, has faster 3-3 on the way, so he's actually going to have a much better upgraded army, which is so uncommon in CVT. Normally the Terran's the guy that's getting 3-3 at this point.
Absolutely. Snute doing a great job in that regard, but this is that position we were talking about. You siege up your tanks here, it is so hard to hit them, but a Broodlord is on the way, 2 Broodlords on the way. Snute getting into the ultimate tech.
He's got to just be so patient here. Try and take little damage as possible from these Marines. Bile's going down, or Fungals rather, on the bio, and there's gunning through the right-hand side. Ooh, the Roach is getting a little too far forward there. Those 5 tanks doing sick damage to Snute's army. He hasn't lost too many drones, but he is evacuating that hatchery.
He just canceled the 2 Broodlords as well, got underneath where they were morphing, hunting down so many units here. He's cut off the circulation with the siege tanks. uThermal with a deadly move here in game 4.
Very decisive, and so much damage has come out of here for uThermal, and he has plenty of Marauders as well to tank for those Marines, which are doing insane DPS here, even on +2 attack. They are just shredding through these Ravagers here of Snute. What does Snute have? He has 25 Roaches and an Infestor and a Dream, but there is just so much available for uThermal and so much Medivac healing his units as well. He's standing, he's fighting, he's taking him out, he's shredded him to pieces, and that's going to be it. GG! uThermal eliminates Snute, and we'll move on to the round of 8.
Some fantastic play out of the top European Terran. uThermal without any great results so far this year, but coming back strong here in WCS Valencia. He's looking like he might be a contender for the title.
Shibu attacks and kills Snute. Our first actual death on stage in WCS. And you can see that these guys are rivals, but also friends here in StarCraft 2.
No doubt. A really well-played series on both sides as well. Snute, one of the greatest of all time, goes down. It's a sad sight to see, but uThermal with a deserving victory.
A bittersweet victory here on stage. Let's go to an interview with uThermal and Smix.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, uThermal. It seems the Shibu charm is remaining strong. You finally made it to your first quarterfinals this year, and especially after a disappointing finish in Austin, how important was it for you to make it to the top 8 here?
Well, actually, I came here just with the goal to make the 3rd group stage, and you know, I was playing Protoss a bit for Homestar Cup, right? So I decided to play like 2 days of Terran before I came here, and I ended up winning like every game. Even practicing against Cheryl, like I kind of owned him before this match, so I was confident, and suddenly I don't know why I'm good, but it's working out.
It must be the Shibu, right? It must be the Shibu. Now, against this series against Snute, there's a lot to talk about, but I specifically wanted to ask you about 16-bit. It definitely looked like Snute was putting up a better fight, you know, especially after the first 2 games. What do you think it eventually was that that led to Snute taking out that game in the end? Because it was looking pretty close for a while.
Yeah, well, I think I think he's really good with the Mutalisks, but I believe on Lost and Found the game went a bit different because 16-bit is so large. He kept doing run-bys and stuff, but on Lost and Found it really just came down to 1 battle, so he didn't really get to show his you know, skill in outplaying the Terran. But on 16-bit the map is really large. He took the smart bases to take, so I couldn't really attack him. So I think because the game was set up way better for him, he got to the late game and then he did really well there.
Well, luckily you did win the next game, and now you're moving forward. We saw a great TvZ from you, but your next match is going to be a Terran versus Terran, and a really good one at that, because it's going to be the 2 best Terrans, the 2 best non-Korean Terrans going up at each other. So what are your thoughts on your TvT right now, and also Big Gabe?
I mean, it's probably going to be a bit of a clown fiesta, because like we both don't really play against any Terrans on Europe ever. Like I legit played like 2 TvTs in the last few weeks. So I think we both don't really know how to play, but in general I do well against him, so I think I'm the favorite, but I think anything can happen really.
We'll see how that goes. That match will be coming up tomorrow, but for now, congratulations again. I hope you and Shibu have a wonderful night. For now, let's head back to Nathanius.
Thank you very much, Smix, and a big congratulations, uThermal, advancing onward, and he'll have that great match tomorrow against Big Gabe, as we were just checking out, but a great match against his teammate, gentlemen.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more fireworks, I guess, out of Snute, but it was kind of him. The 1 game he won was nice, but it was mostly just him surviving the relentless aggression and really well executed gameplay of uThermal. He is looking good. And I gotta love in that interview where he's like, yeah, I played for 2 days and I'm just good all of a sudden. It's like, all right, man, get out of here.
And how did he call that upcoming match again, Jeff, with the Hero Marine?
Yeah, he's just like Clown Fiesta, I guess. There's that term
Yeah.
again.
There it is, right out of nowhere.
Have you crunched that? Do we
I
have
looked
a
it up.
breakdown?
It came from a different game and its competition. It was through the MOBA scene for a little while there.
Huh.
And there was people, it was funny in the live report, they were like, there's no way Jeff's never heard that term. I actually had. I don't know what to tell you.
No, he was genuine yesterday. I
Yes,
noticed it as
no,
well.
I've not heard Clown Fiesta. And I think if I have, I've been like, ooh, that's inappropriate. I don't
And
know.
now
Can't
you're
talk
going to
about
hear
that.
it every day for the rest of your life.
Yes, it's gonna haunt me for a
It will
while.
never stop.
I love this series, though, Nate. I really think uThermal played, obviously, an excellent series. He finally gets a big victory over Snute after having a couple of very frustrating defeats with his Terran versus Zerg. But I especially love the first two games where we've seen too many TvZs lately where we look at each other as well. It's like the Terrans are like okay with just pushing back the creep a bit, and then we look at the work account, and it's 22 workers advantage for the Zerg. Not in this series. First game, he gets 20 drones. Next game, he gets a whole bunch of drones again. Snute, we know he likes to rely on those queens, but queens are kind of slow.
Yeah.
You can catch them out of position, and I really think uThermal had a great game plan. Just pedal to the metal and freaking go for it.
I think that was the biggest highlight was those first few games, especially the Queens were not able to stop uThermal from getting the momentum he advances on, and that pretty much settles the top half of the bracket here at the World Championship Series Valencias. We've got, of course, Cyril going up against Raynor, and then Hero Marine going up against uThermal, which guarantees us a smooth TvZ semifinal later on. So you're going to get all that good stuff that you're looking forward to. Of course, coming up, we've got Neeb against Bly. For all you American fans out there, another TVP in Clem versus Showtime. And we got Nurchio and Harsum. Oh my goodness, these games just get better and better and better.
gonna be
And then, of
good.
course, Atosis' favorite player, Haas, is still waiting.
You know
He's
what?
fun to watch.
When I look at that bracket, I see a couple of very good upcoming Clown Fiestas. I see Neep versus Bly. It has it written all over it. We're going to end the day with Haz versus Kalazur. If that's not a Clown Fiesta, I'm not using the term anymore for the rest of the weekend, Jeff.
Word on the street is that a Cannon Rush was involved in a game that then beat Special between Haz and Special. And I think for a lot of our fans, I think no matter what level you play at, a Cannon Rush in a PvT has to be one of the most rare things to ever happen. So that would be amazing.
Yeah, let's play NA ladder. There's some very
Oh, come
weirdly
on.
good.
Turkey, Dano, and Printf are right now spamming
man.
cannons
Do
in
they?
the chat.
They cannon Terrans as well?
Yes, of course. They
Yes.
cannon everything, Jeff.
Yes.
They would cannon their own
Hey,
brother if they have to.
If I come away from this weekend learning about Clown Fiestas and Cannon Rushes in PvT, what a weekend well spent in Spain, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Best weekend of your
Come
life.
in here and just learn about that stuff. Nice.
Yeah. We have our next matchup coming up in just a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Neeb versus Bly, bringing out the PvZ, a true clown fiesta, I believe.
Stop
you
it.
put it, Rotterdam. Any thoughts you want to say on that matchup?
It's
before we
going to
get
be
into
so
it?
fun. I really can't wait to see what Bly has in store for us. I refuse to believe he's going to play that normal series for all 3-4 games. And the funny thing is, like sometimes even when Bly games look normal, they actually are normal because he will
Yeah.
go into Broodlords without an Evo chamber. You know, it's just no upgrades or anything. It's links, a couple roaches, it's
Yeah.
random timing, and pop, there's the Great Aspire. So I think it's going to be really fun. Neep has looked tiny bit vulnerable in his PvZ, but I believe on this stage, I believe that Neep is obviously back. I think he's going to give us a really good show.
Specifically, off-the-cuff weird play is what has given Neeb trouble historically in the WCS lately. It's been weird PvPs, weird PvTs, and weird PvZs. Bly is, funny enough, one of the worst draws for Neeb, I think, in this round. Hopefully, I'm very wrong. I'm a huge Neeb fanboy, and I would love to see him go further in the tournament, but I've got a bad feeling in my stomach.
All right, let's see
Clown
if
Fiesta.
In Control's gut will determine the outcome of our next match. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the World Championship Series. Coming up next, it's Neeb versus Bly. We'll be right back.
Today, we retake